This is supposed to be the time of happy PC building time because Christmas and all that. So it's one of those things where like, I need something stronger. Damn, I forgot how good the 12-year was. Anyway, we're talking about the fact that AMD is apparently raising prices 10% across the board at midnight tonight. The Be Quiet light-based PC case features a flippable design for either an upright or lay-flat orientation, cable trays and covers, and supports newer backside connector motherboards for a super clean build. Sleek and minimalistic design with integrated RGB lighting offers tasteful design cues, and radiators up to 420 millimeters are supported in the light-based 900 model. To see the full list of specs of the Be Quiet light-based 600 and 900, follow the link in the description below. Okay, again, this is one of those videos, take with a grain of salt, but I'm trying to put this out there to help some of you because I know some of your budgets might actually be on the razor's edge of affording or not affording something. This comes from a confirmed anonymous source, third party. I'm reading articles here. It's been talked about on the usual written suspects, right? Tom's Hardware, WCCF Tech, over OC3D, all these sites, okay? Apparently, and this is coming from the UK side of things, AMD is going to be implementing a 10% price increase on both GPUs and CPUs because of the RAM shortage. Now, GPUs sort of make sense. I had another video where I actually talked about GPU pricing shouldn't be that affected by the RAM prices, but because of trickle effects, DDR5 becoming the manufacturer's priority means that manufacturing GDDR7, which is in the modern GPUs, and 6X, which is in the AMD GPUs, becomes less of a priority to produce, therefore scarcity artificially because they've chosen to turn fabs into other products, which are more profitable, means that there could be a shortage for there. Anyway, I digress. That's a video going up later. It's a little behind the ball when it comes to the NVIDIA discussion, but basically it's kind of retracting what I said about GPU pricing may not be that affected because that's what I was being told by some anonymous insiders. A lot has changed in the last week. Anyway, what we're talking about now is AMD has reportedly sent out memos to their partners raising the price 10% for all CPUs and all GPUs. Now, the CPU part isn't confirmed on 10% yet, but 10% on GPU apparently has been confirmed. Again, you can't say confirmed through an anonymous source. That's such an oxymoron. But most of this stuff comes from anonymous sources because of the fact that they know they'll get fired for leaking the information. So we'll just have to see tomorrow whether or not the pricing has changed. Now here's the thing. If you see prices change tomorrow, then you know the stores and such, like there should be a cutoff, right? If anything you received before a pricing change should be unaffected and grandfathered in for the current pricing change. And then anything that comes in after the pricing change should be affected. But what tends to happen is even inventory that's sitting on the shelf has pricing increases happening simply because of the fact that the demand leads to an on-demand pricing change. So that's why stuff that's already on a shelf and unaffected by new costs and such, we'll start to see the prices go up. So it sort of sucks. But gotta ask yourself, why on earth would the CPUs be affected? Well, the articles go on to basically speculate at this point that TSMC is also taking advantage of the global situation, if you will, regarding AI development and AI build-outs. And don't forget, all SMDs require wafers of some sort, right? Whether they're super teeny tiny chopped up versions of them or big ass versions for like, epic CPUs and whatnot that use giant pieces of silicon. But RAM manufacturers need the silicon as well for smaller aspects. But remember those AI build-outs we're talking about that are eating up all the DDR5 and eating up all the GPUs? Well, they need CPUs to go in those build-outs as well. It's just taking time for all of the effects to sort of land. So the pricing increase is really looking opportunistic, if you will, for TSMC. Don't forget, TSMC manufactures AMD CPUs, NVIDIA GPUs, AMD GPUs, and Intel CPUs now. So it's like TSMC has got like the global monopoly on just all of the main players in both consumer grade PC stuff all the way up to enterprise, crazy data center level stuff is basically now under the control of one super corporation. So I mean, this is what happens when you're that global monopoly of manufacturing chips and such that every single company uses. You can see why there's such a debate over who owns the land that TSMC sits on, right? So anyway, if this is true, if there is a price increase at midnight and we see the prices change on the shelves at midnight, that just kind of shows how slimy a lot of the e-tailers and retailers are too, because I personally, nothing that currently exists and is imported in here now was product of the price increases. So it's like, if you're suddenly now going to raise the price on a product that you've already manufactured, already made, and already exported and imported and put on a shelf, the cost involved in that is already done. Like, the cost is baked in. So to artificially raise that cost, now that's obviously just supply and demand and opportunity. Or opportunistic, we'll leave it to that. The term opportunistic means somebody sees an opportunity to do something for gain and therefore does it. Usually you hear of crime of opportunity, right? Like somebody leaves their car running and the door wide open while they run into 7-Eleven. You're not gonna have a car when you come back outside because the opportunity was too enticing for someone. And in this instance, it's enticing for everyone involved. NVIDIA, TSMC, Micron, SK Hynix, Samsung, obviously TSMC, AMD, Intel, all of them. You know who's probably not really winning in all this is Intel, though, because no one's really buying any Intel shit for obvious reasons. But anyway, unless, like we talked about, 12th gen, 13th gen, 14th gen, and DDR4 builds might be more relevant than ever. But even DDR4 pricing is starting to go up. Why? Trickle down economics. It's such a basic principle that a lot of people don't understand. Is DDR4 is going up in demand again because DDR5 has been priced out for so many people. People are going, screw it, I'll just build a DDR4 based rig. And DDR4, a lot of the fabs have switched off manufacturing of DDR4. So the shelves start to become more barren. The retailers realize there's demand, and then the price goes up. It's one of those things where it makes me wonder if the C-suite executives and to be honest, the pencil dicks that run these companies, if they truly think that raising prices is better than just selling more volume. I don't know at this point. Everything I think I've known over the last decade and a half of doing this has been flipped upside down literally in just the last 3 years. And so it just sucks. It sucks. So my recommendation to you on this one, if you have the funds right now, you might not want to wait. You might want to run out, order, buy, whatever, the build, if you can afford it now and you're not putting yourself out to do it, because it might cost you 10% more tomorrow. I often say I wonder how much worse things can get, but I really need to stop wondering that, because I'm trying to think now, what's the next component that could be affected? GPU, CPU, and RAM, right? Motherboards now? Because they've got SMDs and things on them that require chips. And if wafer demand now is what TSMC is using as a reason to raise prices, then there's no reason why this wouldn't have a huge effect on even so much more than the PC industry. It sucks because I build this channel on trying to make it approachable for beginners and newcomers. Build your own, buy a pre-built, whatever, just to educate you to try and understand a little more about what you're getting involved in. And at this point, it's so difficult to feel like I can get anyone excited about this, because I am losing my own excitement over this because of the greed. I'm with everyone else going, when the hell is this AI bubble gonna pop? You would think that with Peter Thiel and SoftBank pulling out of NVIDIA might have signaled hey, maybe we're reaching bubble status. It's no different than the dot-com boom of the early 2000s and late 90s. The AI bubble has to burst. It has to burst. And I don't feel terrible for big corporations that might lose their asses on it. Because right now, they're literally building golden monuments on the backs of regular consumers. And it's so funny because these segments consumer CPU and consumer GPU and consumer RAM is such small segmentation of their business versus data center and enterprise direct business to business sales, that you would think that they could still be profitable without absolutely wringing every single dollar out of the customer. AMD's not your friend. NVIDIA's not your friend. Intel's not your friend. I see people all the time talk about the how amazing AMD is for the consumer. They think about the consumers. No, they don't. They don't care about you. They don't care about me. They care about their shareholders as just like anyone else. And here's the proof in the pudding. Both of these cards were over $1,000 when they launched. Both of them today are almost $350 cheaper than when they launched. Do you think they found a way to make manufacturing 30% cheaper? No. They recognized, because of how expensive GPUs were at the time, especially NVIDIA, that they could make more money on you at that time. And then as the demand goes down, start lowering the pricing so that they can start hitting a more middle market. AMD is not your friend, okay? No more than NVIDIA is. So stop pretending like AMD is all about the consumer. They're not. They're all about lining their own pockets with as much gold thread as they possibly can as well. Jesus Christ, I should have whiskey in more of these videos. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Good luck out there.